Good afternoon, everyone. It's October 18th, 2023. Globex is not opened yet and the market is closed. Um, I was mentioning last night or yesterday afternoon, whatever it was, that I wasn't too sure on where we were going, and I was going to lean on the overnight session and where we were opening to figure out an idea of where this thing may head for the day. And what I ended up seeing was that the overnight spent the entire day below the close, right there at 4402s, and then it also spent the entire night below the Globex Open, right here at 43.98. Couldn't get above the close and couldn't get above the open of Globex. Similar story on the NASDAQ, the Dow, and the Russell did a little bit better, but ES, the primary ticker here, was failing to really get anywhere. I think we had a little bit of data pre-market and all that, but what I kept looking for was would we be able to open inside of value, outside of value, and an open outside below value area low to me would indicate weakness, and what I was looking for was some sort of strong covers to get short, and that's what we had. If we switch this to a 5-minute chart here, you can see the open. Where is the open here? 9:30. An open here at 43.82 and a half. There's actually a pretty decent move. That's a 5-point move up, and you can see these repeated covers, really strong covers, again to 87ish, again to around 92, all unable to break these overnight highs here around 98. And then this strong, strong selling. To me, we're just getting these really, really strong covers based off of yesterday's huge rip here when we were selling aggressively from the pre-market into the lows, and we got this huge high volume bid. I think we trapped a lot of shorts here, and I was mentioning that I was thinking the market was just taking a lot of time to clean out this area, to clean out these trapped shorts, and while it was doing so, we were getting these very wicky short cover, short cover, short cover, and then repeated slams down further. We also had the Bayes book come out and the 20-year auction. As far as I know, the auction was not too great on those bonds, and these bond auctions are resulting in much more volatility in the S&P than we usually would have. I think that's because the market is largely centered around them right now. Of course, it's always a big market, the bond market, but in particular right now, given how low, perhaps I have a chart of it, given how low TLT has been trading, how weak it's been, the market overall is struggling. That area of the market, here's TLT. This is an extremely interesting chart, if you want to call it that. Throwing some volume on there, you can see this has been a high volume failure to pick up any sort of bid here, and once again closing down. We had some bids that this week, last week, and once again just making new lows. So that was something that was occurring. We also had the Bayes book come out. Anyway, in general, we hit my target of 43.40. I think that was last Friday's low. Yeah. So now, what am I looking for moving forward? That's enough of a recap. What am I actually looking forward to? Well, the S&P has failed to reclaim this sort of level, this 437 spot. I've had that level for a while. Um, it's failing to reclaim there. It's starting to look quite distributive. The NASDAQ unable to make a crack of last week's high. The S&P was able to. The Dow was able to. Russell almost did. Poor fella. But the NASDAQ just consistently making lower highs. That's been 1, 2, 3, and now 4 days in a row of lower highs. To me, this thing is starting to look like it wants to let go of the bid. Today, it closed below value area low, so a low close. So what I want to see is there any follow through to the downside during Globex tonight. If we go back to the futures chart here, let's go to the Qs for a second. Will we be able to get into this low here around 980? I think I can't remember. I think we had Tesla and Netflix earnings. I think Tesla or Netflix, sorry, was saying that they're increasing prices and no more Wi-Fi sharing or this or that. I can't remember, but not so great was kind of the result of that, I think. Let's pull up a Netflix chart. Daily. Yeah, you going to show me the earnings? There we go. Earnings. They made a bunch of money on raising their prices, I assume. Not so great on Tesla. So I'm leaning down. The S&P looks distributive. The Q's just super, super weak. That last week's low is now a primary target for me. Same with the S&P. I'm looking at that last week's low. Even the Dow, even though it's so crowded to the short side, able to close red today. Rusty, no follow through on yesterday's huge push. Today, just to me, on the S&P, that intraday action to me, all of this crap today, all these covers, more covers, all this stuff to me was just jammed shorts from Tuesday. And to me, this was the real proper move, getting back below. If we pull up a NASDAQ chart, 30-minute, this is the balance I want to see us get back inside. Pretty much where we closed at the lows today. This sort of thing. I want to see us get back inside this balance. I want to see us hold this area's resistance, kind of the midway point between this balance here. Yeah, even lower. There we go. Something like this, right? I want to see us hold below there. So that's how I'm looking at this thing. I think we've distributed whatever product we had. I think this makes sense based on the COP positioning, showing that that the NQ and the ES should be letting go of the bid, and that the Dow should be leading, given it's the most shorted it's been in 10 years. So in terms of trading this, here's what I'm going to look for. Again, I need to see some sort of follow through to the downside tonight. If we do, we'll have an open below last week's close, the weekly open, settlement open, daily open, all this sort of stuff, previous day's highs, settlement highs, all that sort of stuff. We'll have an open below there. That'll have me leaning downwards. Same thing with the S&P. I want to see us open below all this sort of structure, all those opens, lows, highs, closes, all that sort of stuff. If we are able to open above 430.88, so just the first standard deviation of last week's VWAP, the first negative standard deviation, so right around over here. If we're able to open above that, I'll consider fading it around the -2 standard deviation. If not, I'll consider waiting lower until the -3 standard deviation. This guy needs a little minus sign. On the NASDAQ, similar story. I'll be looking to fade around last week's low, or I'll be waiting for that -3 standard deviation somewhere around here. This also happens to be a decent looking kind of zone. So that's how I'm looking at this thing. A little bit all over the place. Sorry, 8 minutes. This thing looks distributive to me. And again, look at the volume there. A high volume red session. This thing's been doing the same narrative since since September. Ramping sell volumes, weak daily covers. Weak, strong sell. This looks very distributive to me. NASDAQ, the volumes haven't been as great on the sell side, but look at this action. Lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. Dow, still staying bid with covers. Russell, just a piece of crap per usual. I need to see futures tonight break this low and hopefully give us a low open. Same with the ES. I want to see it come down. And if we can get that going, I think we'll be able to sell into last week's lows. Anyway, hope that makes sense. Hope that helps. I'd be a little bit careful on the long side until you see evidence of bids appearing, if you are trading Globex. Anyway, have a good night. Trade safe.